Hello, and welcome to another episode of Eating from the Earth. I'm Laura Poche, and I am a holistic health coach with a focus on gut health based in Ayurvedic medicine, and I will be your host today. Today, we're going to be talking about the opposite of eating. We're going to be talking about fasting. And fasting is very near and dear to my heart because literally the results that I have seen in my body, overall hormones, emotional balance, physically, all of the above have been as a result of intermittent fasting. I started fasting about 3 years ago, and I started out pretty slow, which is probably the best way to do it. I started out doing 12 and 12, where I would fast for 12 hours and then eat for a 12-hour window, which basically just entailed skipping breakfast. And then I moved on to where I would skip breakfast and lunch and then have a mid-afternoon snack and then dinner. And that's pretty much where I've stayed. It comes out to 18 hours a day. But once a week, I throw in a 36-hour fast, and that has been really a game changer in balancing my hormones, helping me navigate my way through menopause and all of the other challenges that come along with aging, as well as getting rid of arthritis. It's been a huge help for, developing new stem cells to attack that arthritis. It really helps your body to function overall. But I guess probably um, the real the real focus on fasting should be it is how our bodies were designed to operate, right? Our bodies were designed to go through periods of lack, of drought, of not having food available. Now, in modern times, there's always food available. So we don't usually go through the periods of having to go without food. However, as a result of that, we have developed some physical issues because since our bodies are designed to go through periods of famine, periods of no food available, we have a fail-safe set up inside our bodies, which is storage, and that is fat storage. If anyone here has a cat, you know that they have a little pouch underneath them that kind of wobbles back and forth when they run. That's their primordial pouch. That is their designated storage area for times of famine. We have that too. And it is in a similar place, right in our gut. But once that gets filled up, then it starts going to other places in the body. So, fat around the thighs, fat around the arms, all of that is food storage in the event of a famine. So how do we get rid of it? We go through famine. And you have to intentionally go through famine on your own. You have to do it on your own. And that is what intermittent fasting is. Intermittent fasting is a way for your body to rid itself of the stored fat in the event that there was no famine. So I would say that everyone who eats a normal American diet, that eats on a regular basis more than three times a day in snacks, has food storage built up, and a fast from time to time would probably be a good idea. So I want to just jump right in. Let's start talking about the first challenge of fasting, and that is hunger. And that's the one thing that really breaks the bank for everybody. Like, you get to a point where you're just so hungry and you think you're going to die, but you're not, because we have a lot of reserves. We do have reserves. So your body's going to be okay. I mean, especially if you're dealing with some obesity, or you're dealing with being overweight, or you're dealing with belly fat, you've got stuff for your body to live on during your time of fasting. And that was the point of it, right? That's the point of the fat storage. So there's a few things that you can do to help alleviate these annoying hunger pains that literally get you into tunnel vision, where all you can think about is food. Like the only thing on your mind is food. So the first thing I would say is time. Time is going to help you with that. As you get accustomed, the more you do it, the easier it becomes, the more your body starts to learn, hey, I'm not going to get fed every 2 hours. So let me just hush. And a lot of times that hunger is more habitual than it is real hunger. So time is going to be a huge factor in that. The next one I'm going to talk about is bone broth. Bone broth, I don't use bone broth a lot anymore. I drink it other times, like with a meal or something, but I don't use it during fasting very often anymore. Extended fast, sometimes I'll have some, but bone broth can be really satisfying. Um, your best bet is to make your own, but if you're going to buy it, make sure you buy an organic, grass-fed uh, bone broth. The refrigerated or frozen kind is probably your best option because there's not any preservatives in there. It's just basic bone broth that's been frozen. But there's a few out there that are powdered that are pretty good. But at any rate, whichever type of bone broth that you choose, it is a great option to help curb those hunger pains. Now, just one word of caution. When you first start using bone broth, start small, 8 to 12 ounces at a time, because during an extended fast, and after you've been fasting for a while and you consume a whole lot of bone broth, you're going to get some blowback. Your stomach is you're gonna get a little indigestion, you're gonna get some cramping, that sort of thing. So I would say start slow with the bone broth during a longer fast, and start out with 8 to 10 ounces of hot bone broth. But it can be very satisfying. And another great use for this is if you are with someone that's not fasting and they're having a meal and you want to join them, then a cup of bone broth can be your meal, and that will help you not be so focused on what they're eating. So the next tip I have is sparkling water, and the same caution I gave with bone broth, I'll give with sparkling water. Just be mindful of how much you're consuming because your stomach is empty and you don't want to overload it. What happens with the sparkling water is the sparkling water kind of turns off the stomach acids. So it turns off that reaction, that hunger reaction. So when you drink the sparkling water, your body feels like it's got something to work on. So the hunger goes away. Um, I would just, maybe one bottle of Pellegrino. And let me just throw this out here. There's a lot of sparkling water options out there. There's a lot of them. And some of them are not so good. I have posted in Maximum Health the chart that shows which sparkling waters have the highest levels of PFAS, which are those forever chemicals. They say natural flavoring, but it's a chemical-based flavoring. There's a lot of them out there that have really high levels of those forever chemicals. So I'll say that my three favorites really are Pellegrino, Spindrift, and Waterloo. Those three have really low PFAS amounts. So that's probably the safest. Those are the safest brands. Those are the ones I trust. And when I'm fasting, I will usually allow myself one of those, and I'll go to bone broth first. So I'll drink bone broth first. Once that's gone, if I'm still hungry a couple of hours later, then I'll have a sparkling water. The next one I'm going to talk about is tea, and I like herbal tea. And I make herbal teas and I sell herbal teas. They are all herbs. There is no black tea or green tea involved. That is for another podcast, the black tea and green tea. But I use an herbal tea and I make them. My favorite one is my antioxidant tea, and that's got elderberry and clove and licorice root and kokum and I don't have it in front of me, but it's packed full of nutrients and antioxidants. And it is cinnamon was the other one. So it's elderberry, licorice root, black kokum, uh, cinnamon, and the other one. But at any rate, it's really great tea, and I make several different kinds for several different purposes. But my favorite is the antioxidant tea, and I sweeten it with a little bit of pure monk fruit extract, which will not break your fast, and the tea won't break your fast. So that's a really that's a really good option. Is a good cup of hot tea. And my last recommendation is all mental. So, what I would suggest for you to put in your mind when you feel that hunger is remind yourself that this is food storage and that there's plenty there to eat. Imagine going down into a bunker and finding all this food on the shelves stored up for later that you have available to eat. That's what's happening inside of you. It's all this whole bunker full of food storage that your body has available to it for those times of famine. And that's what you're doing. You're putting yourself into a time of famine. So just what I like to do is I like to just put my hands in the area where the hunger is, like right in the middle of your belly. And I just say, eat what's there. There is food there. Eat that. And just as I kept telling myself that, I became one with the digestive process, and I could see how my body was consuming the stored up food, the stored up even the stored up toxins, sadly, but all of that has to go away, and the only way to do it is through fasting. So just reminding your appetite to just eat what's there. That was probably one of the biggest most helpful techniques I had overall, was telling myself to eat what's there. So those are 5 really good tips to help alleviate hunger pains and that annoying sense of I need something to eat all the time, right? Okay, so the next one I'm going to talk about is the work or home schedule. A lot of people today are working from home remotely, which that makes it a lot easier to fast. But if you're working from home and you have small children that you have to feed 5 times a day and you're constantly handling and smelling food, that's going to make things a little more challenging. So, um, I would say for that situation, your best friend is going to be food prep. Get everything ready for your fasting day for them and for you. So get your bone broth ready, make sure you've got your sparkling water, make sure you've got some tea, all of those things available to you. But then get all of your kids' snacks and meals prepared ahead of time so that when it is time to eat, your contact with food is much smaller a period of time. So you can run to the refrigerator, uh, open their prepped food. If you have to heat it. But I would recommend making foods that can be served cold, because honestly, when you have to heat that food up and smell it, it's going to make things even more challenging. So I would say, if you're food prepping for a toddler or a young child that's unable to fend for themselves, I would say prep food that can be served cold. Now, for the evening meal that typically would be served hot, then, maybe ask for some help during that time. Hey, I'm fasting through this meal. Can you please prepare this meal for the kids, or anyone else that you can get help from? Or again, just an easy meal that can be prepared quickly, served to them, and then you can go do something else while you fast. As far as like your work schedule, I know when I worked in an office with other people, the hardest thing for me skipping meals or for eating healthier was when someone else was not eating the way I was eating, when they were ordering pizza or Burger King or something that smelled really delicious and something that I had an addiction to. That would make things really difficult. So my suggestion in this area is it's a lunch break, right? Most people get a lunch break. Now I know a lot of people spend lunch at their desk, or they don't get one, or they work through it or whatever. But if you can at work, if you can take your lunch break and go for a walk and drink your sparkling water, sip on your bone broth, whatever it is that you're using to alleviate the hunger, if you can do that and you can walk around, take a walk for the 30 minutes while whoever else is eating until they're done, then come back and finish your work, you will more than likely be more successful at navigating that challenge. You can just literally just get away from it. That's like the best option. Um, you know, overall, working around a schedule is literally getting away from the food when you can so that you're not tempted. And then when you do have to be around food, making the time that you're spending around food as little as possible. And one other tidbit that I'm going to put out there is don't go to the grocery store on your fasting days. Like when you fast, I think that is like the worst. When I've had to go to the grocery store when I'm fasting, and then my mindset is, oh my gosh, I'm going to eat so much when I finally break my fast. And then I'm just like buying all this food. And then I come home with this huge amount of food that I really didn't need because I was really hungry when I was at the grocery store. So that is a really great idea to just stay away from that. So um another thing that can help, this is something else that can help. So if you are if and this is still with the schedule. So if you are just getting started with your fasting, then I would strongly recommend starting small, starting out fast, just like skipping breakfast. So a 12 and 12. So 8, if you sleep 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours of that fast is going to be spent sleeping, which is great because you're not hungry while you're sleeping. And the rest of the time is going to be while you're awake, but that's going to be your skipping breakfast. Now, coffee, this golden stuff right here, this, I say gold miracle elixir that I love so much. Coffee is great in the mornings for breakfast. If you want to have a cup of coffee, I put dehydrated monk fruit extract into my coffee in the mornings. It does not break my fast, but I want a little bit more than just the regular coffee flavor, but I can drink it black too. I like it black too. So, but a nice cup of hot coffee in the mornings when you first wake up will trick your body into thinking that it's been fed. That's always excellent to trick your body. Something else that if you're at work and you're fasting and you feel like you just, bone broth won't do it, sparkling water won't do it, you've just got to eat something. Eat an avocado. An avocado is not going to spike your blood sugar. Your blood sugar spike is what takes you out of a fasted state. So if you just eat an avocado with, a little salt and pepper, eat that, you will not break your fast. But let me just say this. If you're going to use that method, let it be temporary. The whole point of fasting is to shed the excess weight, the excess fat that's been built up from overconsumption. But there's also a discipline factor in there. And when we use substitutes to get us through hard times, we lose a little bit of the discipline. So fasting is an exercise in discipline, but in the beginning, we need to support ourselves as we go through sugar detox, as we go through breaking the habits of eating at any time, any given time that we just want to snack on something. So in the beginning, if you're skipping breakfast and you're going to try to fast through lunch and not eat till mid-afternoon, just bring an avocado with you to work or to wherever you're going and eat that avocado for lunch. And that will really help. Um, Also, another thing that can help with scheduling is doing one really long fast a week starting out. I recommend as you develop through your fasting that you do it every single day, taking a break once a week. But you can do starting out as you to train your body and to train your mind on fasting is putting in one long fast a week. So that could be one 18-hour fast, that could be one 24-hour fast, or that could be one 36-hour fast. Now, there is a fasting method where people just fast once a week, 36 hours, and they see amazing results. I do it once a week, 36 hours, but I also fast 18 hours a day because, I still have quite a bit of reserves that need to be gone. So, and on top of that, the benefits I have supporting me through menopause and the healing of the arthritis and ruptured discs and all of these things that happened while I was overweight. Another thing that can help with scheduling is communicate. Let everyone know you're fasting. Because you want people to respect your challenge here, respect what you're doing for yourself. And so let people know, hey, you know what? I'm fasting today, so please don't offer me any snacks. I don't need any added temptation. So make sure that you're talking about what you're doing. And then skipping your breaks, like skipping through your breaks, going out, taking a walk, doing something else besides what you normally do. And again, this is an exercise in discipline. This is going to take discipline and it's going to teach discipline. And when you put discipline into your life, a lot of things change because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you start disciplining yourself with food, you will start disciplining yourself in other areas. And that is an amazing side effect. Okay, so moving on to the next one, number 3, feeling shaky or weak. So why does that happen? If we have so many reserves, if we have all these reserves, why is it that we get shaky or weak when we fast? Because your body is not accustomed to eating the reserves yet. Your body is accustomed to having constant and high sugar spikes, insulin spikes. So when it doesn't get those high insulin spikes, then it's going to start to get lower. And then you're going to feel like you're going to pass out or you're weak or you're shaky. You're going to feel that way. And that is because your body is so accustomed to having those sharp sugar spikes that when it doesn't reach that, it almost goes the other direction. So you're having a low blood sugar reaction, which a lot of people refer to as hypoglycemia. And hypoglycemia is just that. It's just low blood sugar. And not necessarily that it's so low that you have a problem or you need to see a doctor. Now, of course, if things get really serious, then you need to get medical attention. But a normal low blood sugar response during fasting would be a little bit of feeling a little bit of shakiness inside. So not necessarily your body shaking, but you just feel a little shaky inside. It'll also, you might feel a little cold. You might feel tired. You might feel like you don't want to move or do anything. And you might even feel a little depressed. And all of these are normal at first. And I'm going to tell you why, and it might be surprising. So your body's reaction to detoxing from sugar is the exact same reaction it has when it detoxes from alcohol because they're both sugar. So you're going to have the same response that you would if you were in a treatment center going through DTs. So shaky, weak, a little nauseous. I have felt that many times, a little nauseous. I remember the very first time I did a 36-hour fast. I had gotten all the way through the evening meal. Now I drank bone broth, but I'd gotten all the way through the evening meal and I felt pretty good. But then I got really tired and cold and I was pretty mad. Like I was mad. I was hangry. You know, we get hangry. And don't eat a Snicker bar when you feel like that's the worst thing you can do. But I was so hangry. And so I was laying on the couch, covered up with a blanket, and I was thinking, what is wrong with me? Why do I feel this way? Well, the fact of the matter is I was going through DTs. My body was detoxing. My body had been accustomed to having those high sugar spikes and it was trying to level out. So to think that you're going to stop doing something that's harmful to your body and start doing something that is not and is helpful for your body is not going to create a reaction is crazy. You're going to have some kind of a physical reaction. You just have to work through it. You have to push through it. Now, let me say this. If you get to the point where you are so hungry that you can't focus on anything, you feel weak, you feel like you can't move, then eat that avocado. Eat that avocado and get some nutrition in your body until your body learns how to get its own nutrition from the reserves. And it will. I promise you, it will happen. Another thing that can help is when you do break your fast, if you've been shaky and you feel funky still at the end of your fast, break your fast with some fruit. Break it with berries. This is going to elevate your blood sugar, but it's not going to spike it like a candy bar would. So it's going to elevate it at a normal amount, give you that satisfaction, get rid of the shakes, get rid of the weakness, get rid of the hypoglycemic result of fasting, get rid of that naturally. So eat, and please don't put sugar on your berries. Just eat them plain the way they are. Eat like a half a cup of like raspberries, blackberries, chopped strawberries, anything like that. Eat that, and that's going to bring your sugar up naturally. Do not eat when you break your fast, do not eat anything like white potatoes, white rice, white flour, white sugar, none of that. Don't eat anything white like that. That is going to just, that's just going to put you back in the same state you were in. You're going to have to go through it all over again. So again, just fruit. Your blood sugar will eventually regulate. I promise you. Okay, going to move on to the next one, which is sugar cravings. Again, it's the same as alcohol. So the same way an alcoholic is going to crave whiskey, when you stop eating sugar, you're going to crave sugar at the same intensity. They have compared sugar addiction to heroin addiction. And I 100% believe that. Sugar addiction is so powerful and it is played to by advertisers. And we're constantly inundated with this information, constantly on television. They're constantly showing pictures of these sweet treats, even like what I was talking about, the Snicker bar and the hangry. They turn into someone else and they're crazy, and then they eat a Snicker bar and they're back to normal. But God, that's not the truth. That is the furthest thing from the truth. The sugar does things to you. It does things to your mind. It does things to your emotions. It is a toxin. It is a poison, and it is making you so sick. And to think that you could alleviate these sick symptoms by adding more poison is absolute insanity. What did Albert Einstein say? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And that literally is the sugar industry, right? So sugar cravings, those can be alleviated a couple of different ways. First thing, turn the TV off. Don't watch the TV, because that's all of those cravings and all the sugar and all that crap. It's going to be just all in your consciousness because you're watching the television, and that's in between segments of a show. They're going to show you all kinds of foods they want you to go buy. God, especially during football, don't try to fast through a football game. That is an exercise in futility. But one of the things that can help, uh, help you to get through the sugar detox when you've stopped consuming sugar. I'm assuming that if you're picking up intermittent fasting, you have made the decision to stop consuming sugar. At least I hope that's the case. Here are some things you can do. Again, Waterloo. I love Waterloo. They have a fruit punch, which is sweeter than the rest of them, and that really does help to curb those sugar cravings. Affirmations. So, listening to affirmations every morning, it doesn't matter what they are. I like to listen for positivity, self-love, abundance. All of that really helps you to focus on yourself enough to be able to push the sugar away and to know that, sugar's not good for you. So you love yourself enough to not consume it. And then finally, something else that can really help with the sugar cravings is educating yourself on the dangers of sugar. When we understand something, we can implement it into our lives a lot easier than just trying to implement something into our lives that we know nothing about. So if you can educate yourself on the dangers of sugar, every time you go towards something that has sugar in it, you're going to be reminded of that, because once you know something, you can't unknow it, right? So, and then one other thing I want to talk about here is uh, the eating fruit. Now, fruit has been vilified by uh, endocrinologists because, it does spike your blood sugar. And when you're a diabetic, that's really dangerous. Blood sugar spikes are dangerous. But fruit didn't do it. Fruit didn't cause the blood sugar spikes. Granulated sugar, white flour, processed foods, all that garbage. That's what created diabetes. And that's what creates the blood sugar spikes. So eat your fruit, but eat it for dessert, unless you're going through, like we talked about before in number 3, where you're feeling shaky and weak. Then break your fast with a piece of fruit with berries. I recommend berries over anything. But and that should not be something that should be done over and over again. That should be something done until you are through that period of the blood sugar drop where you're feeling that, after you fasted, because your blood sugar's lower than what you're accustomed to it being. So, when you eat your fruit for dessert, your body can handle the blood sugar spike. It doesn't spike, really. So the way that I recommend eating, and we will have another podcast on this all together, but the way that I recommend eating your food, especially after you break a fast, is first eat your fiber. I love to break my fast with Brussels sprouts and goat cheese. It's my favorite thing. I love it. That or bok choy. But Brussels sprouts and goat cheese are a great way to start a fast breaking meal. Eat the Brussels sprouts, the goat cheese, move on to your fat, protein, and then eat your fruit last. So eat your fruit for dessert. Train your body to wait for that sugar spike. Train your body to look forward to it, and then it savors it and it's not as destructive. Okay, finally, number 5, staying consistent. How do you do this day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year? How do you keep doing this? Well, the first thing is the mindset. You have to understand why you're fasting and what it's doing for your body. And if you can really embrace that, embrace the idea of the eat what's there, shedding your body of the excess food storage, then it will be a little easier to be consistent and to do it over and over again when you know what your body's doing. Reward yourself. Reward yourself with a beautiful meal that you break your fast with. Something that you really enjoy. Now, I'm not talking about junk food. I am not talking about pizza, cheeseburgers, anything like that. Nothing with white flour, white sugar, potatoes, rice, anything like that. Reward yourself with good, healthy food that you love. And I'll just give you an example. Of course, not everyone is going to want to eat this way, but I'm sure you can find something comparable. But especially when I break my 36-hour fast, that is my favorite reward. I go out and I cook it outside. I enjoy the process of cooking it. I make myself a big bowl of Brussels sprouts with goat cheese. And then my next favorite thing to have is a half of an avocado with salt and pepper. And then one of my very favorite things is chicken sausage. And I get these organic chicken sausages at one of the big club superstore things that I really enjoy. They're organic, just chicken and different kinds of spices. They're just really delicious and they're great on the grill. I enjoy that with a mustard aioli that's so good. It's one of my favorite things. And then a sweet potato. I cut them up really small and I grill them on my Blackstone, and that is the end of my meal. And then I'll have some fruit afterwards. But uh, preparing a meal in your mind that you know you will love, and knowing that that is at the end of your fast, and enjoy that meal with intensity, like enjoy the meal and then just move on about your day. The day after you break an extended fast, 36 hours is what I'm talking about. When you break a 36-hour fast, spend 12 hours, open your eating window to 12 hours and enjoy food that day. Just enjoy it. Have fun with it. Don't let yourself get too hungry. And that's a really big part of being consistent. We've talked about that through the podcast today. So you know what I'm talking about. If you get to the point where you're just hangry, eat an avocado, drink some bone broth, drink some sparkling water, whatever works for you. You'll notice something that happens when you start fasting. You'll notice that you sleep better. And that is, to me, that's like one of my favorite parts is that I sleep so much better now than I used to. And I go to bed at 9:00 every night. I wake up at 6:00 every morning, 5:00, 6:00, somewhere in that area. But right before the sun rises, I get up and I have no issues with it because I sleep well. I sleep really good. So I don't want to stay in the bed for a long period of time. When you're eating garbage, your body takes forever to process that because it has to set a lot of it aside for storage. And then it's really working hard and you're not sleeping well because of how hard your body is trying to get rid of these toxins at night while you're sleeping. So notice how well you sleep and then notice how much energy you have the next day after you've done a nice fast. I know that after I break my 36-hour fast, man, I move faster. I have so much energy, just mad energy, and I love it. It's like my favorite thing. And just stay grateful. Stay grateful to yourself. Remind yourself over and over again that you are making this decision to do these great things for your body and offer gratitude to yourself for that because you're working really hard to accomplish this. And you should be really proud of yourself. So those things will help you to stay consistent. So just to recap, we talked about today about alleviating hunger pains through bone broth and sparkling water, maybe even in desperate moments, an avocado. Drink lots of water. I don't know if I mentioned that, but drink a lot of water. One of the things is that when you're really hungry, your body's sometimes your body just wants water. Sometimes it just needs water and it's confused as to what signal it's supposed to send you to get it. So try drinking water before anything. Your schedule, we talked about your work or home schedule, taking breaks away from people that are eating, preparedness, being prepared for your kids, food prepping for them so that it's easy to get them fed and get away from it. Feeling shaky or weak, remember, that's going to go away. That's going to stop eventually, but just work through it and listen to your body. Sugar cravings, just like with an alcoholic, eventually those will go away. And then just stay consistent. Stay with it. Love yourself enough to stay with it. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you got so much out of this podcast, and I'll see you next time with something new and fun to talk about. And we will be talking about next time eating from something from the earth. So have a great day.